So hello everyone and welcome back to the Taking Year Abroad interview. It's Nicola Beadle here, also surviving your year abroad. As we just spoke to Kate earlier who went to Belgium, and right now we've got Emma on the line who went to Germany. Now Emma and Kate both took part in my project, which was Surviving Your Year Abroad book. And these amazing people were so kind and gracious to pass on their information, and we're so lucky to have them here now. So Emma, who joins me now, she went to Germany and she went on study abroad. Hi Emma.
Hi.
Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to go on year abroad?
Right, well, hi everyone. My name's Emma, as Nicola said. I'm studying chemical engineering. And I went abroad in my third year, so my penultimate year, because I do a master's degree.
Okay.
I decided to go, sorry?
No, okay, yeah, great.
I decided to go my year abroad because like Germany and language is something that is quite important to me, and I wanted to continue my understanding of the language and the culture, more for personal interest rather than professional interest, to be honest. But it's turned out that it is quite good to have on your CV as well.
Okay, what have you found? How have you found that sort of being good on your CV when it's not specifically when it wasn't obligatory for you to go on a year abroad? What sort of things have you noticed? Are employers happy to see that you've done something a bit different, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. It not only means that I can go and apply to companies in Germany and know that I'll be okay with the language element of any job that I have there. It also means that it gives me a lot to talk about for interview and for these situational questions that sometimes come up in application forms or in interviews. Like, for example, I had one the other day that said, describe a time that you took advantage of an opportunity that was presented to you. So obviously study abroad is a perfect opportunity for that.
That really is. And obviously yours was a voluntary year abroad, and not many people get to go on voluntary year abroad. So what made you want to take that opportunity that came up?
I think, as I said before, it is language is something that I find really interesting, and it is something that not many people do, so having it on your CV really does make you stand out, and it makes people think, oh wow, this person must, have a bit of courage, I like to think anyway, to go to a country where they don't know anyone at all, and go and study there for a whole year. Just, they don't have to as part of their degree, they just want to. I think it shows the type of person you are.
Yeah, definitely. And what was your experience like being out there in Germany studying?
Absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It took a little bit of time to get used to the different system and the different ways of operating in Germany. In the uni environment, my university is fairly informal in that we call lecturers by their first names, and we just pop over if we've got a question or anything like that. But in Germany, it's a lot more structured. So you say Professor so-and-so or Doctor so-and-so, and you need to make appointments to go and see people. So that was a difference that I picked up quite quickly.
Yeah, quite different then, wasn't it? I bet that was a bit of a shock, really, for it to be so different.
I think I'd done my research properly beforehand, so I was half expecting it, but maybe not how much everyone stuck to it.
Okay. And so apart from sort of calling professors sort of by their first names, what other things were different about studying in Germany?
We had a lot less contact time than I was used to, and it was a lot of emphasis was put on you to go and learn things if you didn't know them. So at the moment I'm usually in, say, 25 hours a week, but in Germany it was more like 12 hours a week. So I had to really learn how to manage your time, because as well as studying in Germany, so having all the normal things associated with studying, like revision, homework, other tutorial questions, coursework, and generally going to lectures. You've got to think about other things that you want to do while you're abroad, because that's part of the, for me, that was part of the reason going abroad, being able to see all these other places as well.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier to see Europe from Germany than it is the UK. So time management was definitely something that I improved on while I was there.
Yeah. So that's definitely another plus, really, because you wanted to get out there and sort of enjoy the country. And who did you sort of do that with? People from your course? Did you meet a lot of native people while you were out there?
I met quite a few German people. I was living in halls, so that meant that I did meet a lot of different people. And I did some travelling with the people from halls. I did some travelling with people from different clubs that I went to, and I did quite a bit of travelling with other Erasmus students, particularly Spanish students, because they all seem to take advantage of the Erasmus wholeheartedly.
Yeah, definitely. And just thinking back to it, must feel like quite a while ago now, especially if you're doing a master's or in your final year. But what was your very first day like?
My first day in the country or my first day at the university?
Both, if you like.
My first day in the country was quite long because I had to get up quite early to get the flight, even though it was only about an hour and a half away. I was met at the airport by somebody who was called my buddy, which was really nice actually on behalf of the university, because they met you when you came through arrivals, they met you the other side, and then they took you to the university and made sure that you got sorted getting into your room, and made sure that you knew where the shops were, you knew that you had the right money, that you knew what you had to do to register, and then we said, oh okay, we'll meet at this time and this day to go and register as a student. They made sure that you knew about things like bank accounts and phone, SIM cards for your phone, and were generally really useful as a kind of signpost to all the different things that you might want to think about if you've not done it already.
Wow. I guess that was really, really helpful then.
Oh, definitely. I think I would have coped without it, but it made it a lot more easier and a lot less stressful having somebody there who was German anyway, and who was quite happy to speak either English or German to me. I chose German because I thought otherwise I'll get confused.
Well, otherwise you end up sort of in that trap, don't you, where if you start off on English, then it's very difficult to get them to speak to you in German later down the line.
Yeah, and I didn't want to get into that, so I was like, no, I'm in Germany, I'll speak German.
Okay, and language-wise, did you see much improvement? Because I know a lot of people say, well, I guess the problem is a lot of people go on year abroad for languages, but then end up staying with all the English people. You just mentioned that you made the decision to speak German. I imagine that carried on throughout the year. So could you see a big improvement from when you first arrived by the end of the year?
I find that a really interesting question, because if you'd asked me that at the start of August, when I came back, I would have said, oh well, I think it must have improved, but I can't tell you where or how. Despite my German friends saying, oh wow, you've really developed, you've got a bit of a Swabish accent there, and you can tell that you've definitely improved. You've gained in confidence in speaking, but I couldn't tell that myself. But then I went to visit one of my friends that I met there a few weeks ago, and I noticed that although at the start I felt like my German was very, very bad because I'd not been speaking it for 3 months. And I'd had it, so that made me realise the standard at which I'd had it at the end of my year, but then the ease with which I just slipped back into it as well. I don't think I would have been able to do that at the start of the year. So
that's really
definite improvement in the switching between the two languages.
Mm-hmm. Okay, really good. And I imagine that's going to look good on the CV as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And so you said you were in halls. How did that sort of get arranged? Did the university sort that out for you, or did you have to pick that yourself?
There's a kind of like a students' union website, because that's all the halls in Germany are arranged through the student union website. So I went and had a look on that. I was lucky that there was somebody studying at Stuttgart before I went, so the year above, and I could ask him a couple of questions like, oh, what do I do about accommodation? How do you do it? So that was how I found out about it.
Brilliant. And how did you get in touch with him?
Sorry?
How did you get in touch with him, with the guy who's been there before?
Via two routes, actually. One was the Erasmus coordinator said, oh, there's somebody there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to see if you can get in contact with him. And one of our mutual friends mentioned to me, oh, so-and-so's in Germany now, I can get you his contact details if you like, when he found out that I was going. So the mutual friend was more helpful, to be honest.
Okay. And did you find that useful, being able to speak to him?
Yeah, definitely, because the main thing that I asked him about was the accommodation and what it was like living there, because I think that was what I was most anxious about.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, no, there's nothing to worry about. Everyone's here, everyone's in the same boat, trying to make new friends, trying to acclimatise almost to the new culture and the new etiquette and things like that. And the university knows that you're an Erasmus student, so I think they do make allowances and try and make things as easy as they can for you.
Oh, brilliant. And did you find,
really nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of year abroad students are just about to go on their year abroad holiday the same worries. I know I did. And did you find it easy to sort of meet people and make friends once you were over there?
Yeah, as well as the people who you automatically meet in halls, the uni arranged Erasmus days, so I couldn't go on the pre-semester course, but quite a few people went on, and I know that a lot of people made friends through that. I wasn't allowed to go because my language was too high to be allowed to go on the course.
Right.
Because it was primarily a language course with a bit of culture in the afternoons. So I think I missed out a bit there, but it wasn't missing out so much that I had no friends or anything like that, because other people had a language level that was higher than that as well. So we met up with each other through Facebook groups and things like that. It was really useful.
Was it really quite easy to sort of get to know people and socialise with other people as well once you were there?
Yep. This Facebook group was pretty key to getting in contact with other Erasmus students, to be honest, because it was something like Erasmus Stuttgart 2011 to 2012. So you write on there, oh, I'm going in these halls. Like I know some universities do for people coming to university in first year. You say, oh yeah, I'm coming to these halls and this is what I'm studying, and then you say, you find out, oh, someone else studies the same thing, and you say, oh yeah, maybe we should meet up, and it just goes from there, really.
Yeah. And did you have any moments where you maybe felt a bit down, or you missed home or anything like that? And if you did, what did you sort of do to cheer yourself up?
I don't think I missed home too much. I think the main things for me was around people's birthdays, because all my friends were turning 21 and I couldn't be there, and then when I turned 21 they couldn't be with me either. I think that was the bit that I found most difficult, but to cheer myself up I just went and visited somewhere else instead. And my friends in Germany were lovely, you know, they were always up for doing something. And they don't celebrate 21st birthdays, but because they knew it was important to me, they said, oh, come on then, we'll all have a nice party and everything. So it was really nice that they were willing to do something that they must have thought was a bit strange.
Oh wow, that sounds great. And what was Stuttgart like?
Stuttgart is a beautiful city, very hilly, which I wasn't expecting. It's fantastically connected. You can drive to Italy from there quite happily in about 6 hours or so. Switzerland's about 3 hours away. France is about 3 hours away. There's quite a lot to do in Stuttgart itself. There's a chocolate museum, which was very nice with free samples. There's a television tower, which is fairly famous. It's quite high. I'm afraid I can't remember how high exactly. There's a Porsche museum, a Mercedes-Benz museum, because it's really at the centre of this car manufacturing area of Stuttgart because of the Daimler influence. It's a couple of hours to Munich if you want to go to Oktoberfest or just generally go around Munich.
Did you find that you did travel a lot?
I travelled a fair bit, yes. Not as much as some, but more than others.
Yeah. Okay. Was it sort of a different mentality?
The different mentalities of Germans, or?
Yeah, well, I'll say, like, being over here, you probably wouldn't just say, oh, let's go to the other end of the country for the day, or let's go here. But on year abroad, it seems to be, oh, let's go for the weekend, let's do this, let's do that, let's visit everywhere we can. It's almost sort of like a different way of thinking about it, isn't it? Just really found that at all, that you're travelling a lot more than you would have done maybe at home.
Yeah, I think people make the effort a bit more to try and get as much work as possible done during the week so that you can use the weekends to travel, because of the opportunity that you've got being in the middle of Europe. Travel isn't necessarily cheap, but it's cheaper than getting a plane from England would be. So I think the fact that everyone wants to make the most of being in a different country and having those travel opportunities really counts towards the fact that we did go quite a lot. Sometimes we didn't go very far. Sometimes it was only maybe an hour away. Sometimes it was, you know, we went to Berlin once. So sometimes it was a bit further.
And
it was.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say it was mainly day trips that we did.
Yeah. And culturally, did you find any differences between being at home and being in Germany? Was there any sort of culture shock?
Everybody waits for the lights, I think, is the main one. It's frowned upon to cross the road if you have a red man.
Oh, right.
Definitely. Which is the big one. You can be fined in some of the bigger cities if you're caught doing it as well. So if anyone's going to Germany, watch out for that one.
Wow.
Not happened to anyone I know, but...
how did you find out?
I've been going on German exchanges for quite a long time through school, and it was highlighted to us that school would not pay the fine if we were doing it. So That's how I knew about that one.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's if you're speaking to people and you don't know them, they are quite formal and use Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so an awful lot more than I think we do here, especially with older people. General hospitality is quite important, I think. So if you do go to visit someone, take something with you, like a cake or a salad or something like that. 'Cause that's always nice. They also wear coats and scarves a lot, even in the summer. If you go out, you wear a jacket and a scarf, which took me a bit of a while to get used to, but now I can't get out of. Slippers. Everyone wears slippers when they're inside.
Wow.
And they like to have hot things for lunch.
Okay. That must have been different getting used to that. We're so used to just grabbing a sandwich or anything quick and easy like that.
Yeah, they don't really do sandwiches how we do sandwiches, as in 2 slices of bread. They have freshly baked kind of roll things. There are so many different words for them, even in English.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like that instead. Sliced bread is frowned upon.
Okay.
In terms of it's only suitable for toasting, really. So there isn't much bread.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of sliced bread, there's a whole range of different rolls and baguettes and things like that. But sliced bread is not that common.
And what if you were going to go and do it all again? Would you have changed anything?
I think I would have tried to work a bit harder the summer before to try and get some money so that I could spend it in travelling while I was there. And I think I would have started off with a much clearer time management kind of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So that I did organise my time better and I could go travelling a lot more. But I think those are the main things. Now I would probably have tried to learn a bit of Spanish before I went as well. Because I was so convinced that I wasn't speaking English, I said no, I'll speak German to the Spanish people who speak German and I'll learn Spanish for the which didn't really work, and I did end up speaking English. But I think had I known beforehand, I would have definitely tried to learn a few words of Spanish.
Oh, really? And then did you find that money and finance was a problem, or something like that?
I don't think it was so much a problem, but I'm quite a cautious person with my finances anyway.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to do was look in another country with no money.
Yeah.
So my reserves, if you like, the bit of money that I allowed myself per month wasn't overly generous. It probably could have been more generous. But because I didn't know when my Erasmus grant was going to come in, and things like that, I didn't want to overspend too early in the year and then not have enough money later.
Was
Unfortunately,
your Erasmus delayed as well?
Yes, it was. I got the last instalment in October, so when I'd been back for 3 months, which was great having money now, but at the same time, having it while I was actually there would have been a lot nicer. So it's kind of like Murphy's Law, that at the start of the year you don't have much work, but equally you've got to really plan your money, because if you spend all your money at the start of the year, you won't have any at the end. But at the end of the year, when you know, oh, I have this much money left, but I now have all this work to do, trying to balance when you can go travelling with how much work you've got to do and how much money you may or may not have is challenging.
Okay. And like you said, there are a lot less. There's a lot less contact hours. Was the assessment the same? Was it similar to what you would have had over here?
Usually here we do have coursework, but it's usually a maximum of 10 or 20%. Mm-hmm. In Germany they didn't have coursework at all, other than a literature review and your dissertation. So it was interesting that it was 100% exam. The exam style was a bit different as well. Whereas I know roughly how to get marks in England. You know, if you write down the equation that you're going to use, for example, and then do a few steps, you might not get there in the end, but you're picking up marks all the way from knowing the equation and knowing how to use the equation and things like this. In Germany, I had no idea how the marks were allocated. I still have no idea how the marks were allocated.
Right.
But I passed everything, so I'm guessing it went okay.
It must have gone well. And how did sort of the marks transfer back? Did you just have to pass to get on to the final year of your course over here, or did it not count?
I did have to pass everything to get onto my final year, but more than that, my marks from Germany count towards my degree as much as my second year in England did. So the emphasis was really on getting decent marks while I was in Germany to try and keep my average up. The conversion isn't yet complete, but I know that last year they had they found it a bit difficult because the Germans use the discrete scale, so you get a grade like A, B, C, but in numbers, so 1, 1.3, 1.7, 2, 2.3, and so on, where 1 is the best and 5 is the worst, but 4 is a pass. And here at my university we use a continuous scale, so you get a mark out of 100. 100 is 100%, and so you've got everything right, and you know your average is expected to be around 60%. It was a bit strange in that I didn't know what a good mark was in Germany. Whether a 3 was kind of average, so like 60%, or whether it was different or anything. I'm still waiting to get my converted marks back, but I know that last year they took 1, so that was the best mark that you could possibly get in Germany, and equated that to 85% here.
Wow. Okay. And what's the one thing that you would say to someone who's about to go on their year abroad?
Have fun. Say yes to everything.
Okay.
Unless you really, really, really don't want to go.
Yeah. Why did you say that? What, was that how you had your year abroad? Saying yes all the time?
At the beginning, I did try to say yes to as much as I could, because if you say no early on, then I think people are more like, without, you know, oh, sorry, I'm already busy doing this.
Yeah.
Then people might have a bit of a skewed view and think, oh no, they're no fun. They don't want to do anything. And while that might not be the case, I think it's really easy to jump to conclusions, especially when you're not used to dealing with different cultures. I find it quite interesting. So I've said that I spent a lot of time with Spanish people. They all like to do everything quite late in the day, from my perspective anyway. 'cause, you know, a couple of times I was thinking, oh, you just want to have tea at 10 o'clock at night. It's a bit late for me, but I'll come anyway, and then I'll have something to eat beforehand, kind of thing, and just to keep going. Definitely say yes to as much as possible, because it doesn't really matter whether it's just like going to university for the first time in England in many respects, because it doesn't really matter who you meet at first, it's who you might meet from meeting those first people. So the first people you meet probably won't be your best friends ever, but you know, they might have a friend who you get on with really well, and then so you two become friends through this mutual friend, and they become your new best friend while you're abroad, kind of thing. So.
Okay, and have you found you kept in touch with quite a few people from the year abroad?
Yes, I have. I made very good friends while I was there. Looking forward, I've already visited one, looking forward to visiting some others soon. So yeah, it's something that I really think is important about the year abroad as well, keeping up connections and putting the effort into those friendships, because you never know when they might come in useful, either for a job offer, or if you fancy a bit of a holiday somewhere else, you know, phone them up and say, are you free on this time? Do you want to do something? And if they happen to live, say, in the south of France now, then yes, I'd love you to come visit me in the summer. Come and stay at my house, and you've got a lovely cheap holiday already there.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think the year abroad has changed you at all?
I think it's meant that I'm a lot more outgoing now than I was when I went. Because I made a conscious effort at the start of the year to go and speak to people that I wouldn't normally speak to, and to make myself more outgoing and chatty. And I think if you are shy and you make yourself do that, then eventually you do it so often that it then becomes second nature to actually be like that all the time. And I think I've got a lot more aware of my time and how I manage it, and what exactly I need to do to study and how I learn best. So all very good things to know before you start your final year, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So just one final question, and that would you recommend it? Would you recommend going on year abroad?
Definitely. Definitely.
Do you want to go back?
I'm going back just before Christmas, actually, to see people again. I really do think that it's worthwhile. Yes, you do have to work hard. Yes, it can be challenging at times, but I think what you get out of it at the end is so worth it. I would go back and do it again at the drop of a hat. You know, it was really good.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Emma. I really, really appreciate it. That was a brilliant call, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back at 12 o'clock where I'll be interviewing Rachel, who went to France. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.